Hey there everybody, Mrs. Hales here with day 3 of our Jen Aranyi inspired winter paintings. Today we are going to learn some shading techniques that illustrators use just with black pen, or we call it pen and ink. And we are going to talk about which ones you can use to shade the side of your mountain. And then we're going to go over all of our pencil lines with Sharpie or any other black permanent ink that you have is fine. If we look closely at the back side of the mountains where they're shaded, you can see a bunch of little tiny parallel lines or like scratch marks. And that is called making hatch marks. There are different ways that you can create these values or darknesses in your work. So you can use hatch marks or cross hatching or contour lines, which are rounder lines. You can use stippling, which are like on the bottom row in the middle, those little polka dots. You can use doodles or just little kind of squiggly wavy lines. So for your mountains, for the backside of your mountain, you can use any one of these techniques that you like. I think hatching is definitely probably one of the easiest, but you want to keep your lines parallel. Stippling probably takes the longest, but it's also the darkest value. So you can look here and see that it's the darkest color out of all these different ways that you can shade. So value is the lightness or darkness of a color. It could be black or it could be red. And then you can create that value with shading using hatching, cross hatching, stippling, or whatever kind of shading technique you want to use. So I'm going to draw my trees first. We talked last class about what technique you were going to use to draw your trees. If you were going to have longer trunks and kind of more sparse or thin trees, or if you're going to have more, the fatter, like Christmas tree looking trees. Either way is fine. Either way you want to do your trees, it's up to you. But remember, the biggest trees come out in the foreground or closer to the viewer, or usually at the bottom of the paper, and the smaller trees are in the background. They're farther away, and that's going to help create perspective or depth in your picture if you follow that rule. You want to go over all of your pencil lines with Sharpie or whatever your permanent marker is of your choice that you're using. And I'm going to add a little bit of texture to my creek, like rocks and water flow. I'm going to add a little bit of texture to my land by putting a couple lines in my snow here. I always think that these are snow just because Jen Aranyi leaves so much white that in my mind I always think that it's snow. But so I want to put a little bit of texture in that. Now I'm going to get to work on my mountains. I'm going to outline the top part of them first, and then I'm going to come back in and make really wavy organic lines where the backside of the mountain is. And then I'm going to come in on that backside with, you can clean it up now if you want with your eraser, or you can wait till the end. I'm going to come in on the backside with my hatch marks. So this first mountain, I'm just going to use little hatch marks, which are just the straight parallel lines. Now on this middle mountain, I'm going to cross hatch so you can see what that looks like. I did my hatch marks, and then perpendicular to those, I'm coming back on top of those hatch marks with more hatch marks. And you can see that side of that mountain looks a little bit darker than the side of the other two mountains that I did. I think it's a good idea to pick one of these techniques and use it in your entire mountain range, because if you mix and match techniques, it's not going to look very good. I wanted to just show you how to do the different techniques. This is stippling I'm doing on the 5th mountain, and I'm going to do it a little bit darker down at the base, which means I'm just going to put more polka dots and they're going to be closer together. So the supplies you need today are a Sharpie, probably an eraser. You are going to need an oil pastel, or perhaps you could try a white crayon if you want to make the constellation in your sky, if you have a darker sky and you want to make it at night. And that is all you need. If you wanted to add some color to the base of your snow globe, you could use other oil pastels or other color crayons for that. So really today you can do a lot with just a Sharpie. All right, boys and girls, we have used so many art elements in this project, I think we've used every art element. I'm super happy about that. We used line, definitely. We did a lot of drawing. We used color in the sky and possibly on your base. We used shapes because we drew things that were shapes. We used form, especially if you created depth. If you made your mountains look like, they're 3D, or if your creek is coming out towards the viewer. We used texture in our cross hatching or our stippling or whatever shading technique you used. We also potentially use texture on our trees and in our creeks if you have a creek. We definitely use value because our mountains, the back side of our mountain is shaded. And we used space because we created a composition within a circle. So yay, we used every art element. We are so art smart. And I hope you get finished with these today and that you've enjoyed this project.